So, now that we've gotten that all out of the way, I think I've found a video that I feel really outlines the situation more or less in its entirety for what I feel are the concerning elements of the situation at hand. I thought it was a good video. I want to look at this. I want to talk about the things that are being discussed in this video. This is the 5 on Fox. Gutfield, the whole panel. And they're discussing the immigration with the child separation and all that sort of thing. And I think they touch on, at the very least, a vast majority of the key elements of it. Alright? This pretty much has it all in it, including Donna Brazil. So, here we go.
Donna, do you agree that I think the White House is saying that this is an emotional political ploy?
Well, first of all, I looked at the president's favorite newspaper today, and this is the New York Post.
Yes.
So
They've changed, Donna.
Yeah, well, look. Yeah. This is about the separation of children from their families.
That was the fucking point that I made in the second video that I made. A lot of children get taken from their fucking families. So if this is really about children being taken from their families, a lot of children are being taken from their families. So, really?
And while President Obama did have a policy that basically sent people back across the border, it was very rare that he separated children from their family.
Now, yesterday, made a video looking at the Obama fucking stuff. All manner of news footage about Obama and what was going on with immigration and the children during his administration. And I would say that for her to say that it was very rare, she's being exceptionally kind compared to the way the news was portraying it back then. And the news back then was very nice to Obama. So you know, this was a bad time for him.
This is a policy change that the Trump administration put in place 6 weeks ago. They should change it.
Now, from what I understand, the policy that was enacted, the policy change, was essentially, we're going to follow the letter of the law. All of the laws relating to this sort of situation. All of them. Right? That's what it seems to me the policy was. Yes, they said they wanted to do it as a deterrent. Yeah, that's kind of fucked up. But, sorry, in my mind, I think that should be a deterrent. You know, whatever. Nevertheless, some people don't fucking care. Those good parents.
What's the alternative, though?
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce today came out with a bold statement. These are not your typical liberal progressive papers or organizations. And everyone is saying it is time to end this policy, Mr. President. Let's figure out a way to have comprehensive immigration reform. Let's bring more judges to the border. Let's bring more border patrol. But let's end the policy of separating children from their parents.
We can't...
And he did that. So, huzzah.
Here's the issue, though. If we can't separate them, that's what we do in America when someone goes to jail. You have to separate them, and no one is offering a solution. I think we're making a wrong comparison here, Dana. The alternative is the possibility being with a child sex trafficker. Like this may not be a good. This is a terrible alternative, but this is actually a worse alternative.
Now, I will say this. While I may be a sick person in some respects, I will honestly say this. It seriously never even dawned on me that people would be kidnapping children and bringing them across the border to sell in this country. That thought never even occurred to me. And when it was brought up, I believe in the Tucker video, that was when I started to get a little bit more concerned about things, and that was when I started to take this subject a lot more seriously.
Right. So I do think there are some specific alternatives to change this, which it would be to plan ahead. There's money to be allocated, and then try to house these families together. Or I like your idea. Everybody goes back together on a bus. You don't want to be separated? Okay, fine. Everybody on the bus, and you're across the border. If you do it again, it's a felony, and you will be separated.
Yeah, honestly, I like that. If I can, man, pick them up, turn them right the fuck around, send them right back. Dude, why don't we even just do that?
Something like that would be okay, we don't want to do that. And I agree that the people who are being tasked with carrying out the 6-week-old policy, they don't want to have to do it, but they are carrying out the request of the president. This is the policy.
And I think that's a good point. These ICE agents that are doing this and so on, man, they're doing their job. They have to follow the law. And it is the president's job to enforce the law. They're deputized by him to enforce the law. That's their jobs.
And then also, I do think that there's this narrow path. So Ted Cruz has an option. I guess the president will probably talk about it. He doesn't like it because it just deals with this particular issue.
Great. Another Band-Aid. Hopefully at least this one doesn't last for 2 fucking years and then it has to be re-upped again. Hopefully this is actually going to become a law. Whatever.
But he might just have to be for what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
And take that part, get that off the table. Maybe get some additional judges, because I think the other thing is that we should talk about, and it's difficult to talk about for me, I think, is that what's the asylum process and what's the bar?
Right.
And because it's very easy to say, okay, well, then I claim asylum, and then you have this huge backlog, and then you have this problem. I also think that if you're going to have this policy and you want to own it, then plan ahead and figure out what's the process of getting the children back in touch with their families, because the reports of them not being able to do so is difficult.
Yeah, I'm not really crazy about the whole honor system with I'm claiming asylum, especially when people are coming across the border illegally. Because that seems like a way to kind of get out of, oh, I was just trying to sneak in. I don't like the honor system with criminals.
The last thing I would say is we have to figure out a way to collectively go after the drug cartels and not each other, because it's actually the drug cartels that is fueling a lot of this.
Right.
And I agree with that to a degree. But I think that freedom is something that's earned. You look at the American people and the way that we treat our freedoms. Man, we will fucking kill you over that shit. Because that's what it took to earn it. Freedom is not free. I used to drive by this little stone monument every day. And on the back of it, it listed all of the wars that America has been in since the War of Independence. And on the front of it, it says, freedom is not free. It says other things, but too small for me to read from the car. It says in very large words, freedom is not free. The cost of freedom is blood. It's sad, but it's true. And if we as Americans just step in and fight for their freedom for them and go, okay, here you go, here's your freedom, figure it out. And it doesn't usually work. So, I agree, the problem is the drug cartels, things that are pushing people out of these countries, things that's making it dangerous to live there. That's the problem. But, what do? We go in there and fight the drug cartels for you? Win your country back for you and then give it to you to just let new drug cartels come in? Because that's what we did in the Middle East. And we got ISIS. So that shit don't work. But, you know, freedom isn't free. You have to fight for it and earn it.
I don't, Jesse, it's hard to defend separation, but if it's preferable to an increase in child, if you don't know if these are real families, what can you do? You've got to separate them before you find out if they're legitimately a family.
Yeah, I mean, whether the Democrats realize it or not, doing what they want to do actually helps the child smugglers, and no one wants that.
Yeah, I certainly don't want that. And like I said, that thought never even fucking occurred to me. But now that it's in my head, I can't not know that. So...
And Ted Cruz has a bill. It's right here. It's piecemeal. He says families get united. We double the number of immigration judges. An asylum case takes 14 days. That keeps everything together.
Sounds great. Sounds like we're making the process faster. That's awesome.
Why don't the Democrats, like Crying Chuck, just get on board with this piecemeal bill, send it to the president's desk? They could do that right now, but they don't want to do it because they want to exploit it.
And you have to ask yourself, as this goes on, how long are the people who can create the laws to try and work to fix all this, how long are they going to stall before it's obvious that that's what's going on?
Dianne Feinstein has legislation, Stein, which is absolutely ridiculous. She says Border Patrol agents can't even arrest and detain an adult with a child illegal within 100 miles of the southern border.
Motherfucker, you gotta be kidding me.
What's that going to do? That's just going to encourage more people for bringing in children into the southern hemisphere. So, you know, Kate Steinle was also separated by her family with a bullet fired by an illegal alien felon who was deported 5 times.
And you know, I said back then that they're going to bring that shit up every single chance they get. Because you can't argue with that. The only argument you have with that is, oh, well, that doesn't happen all the time. And then you have to ask yourself, how many is too many? That's a bad question to have to ask yourself, right?
And the Democrats didn't really say much about that. So when they complain now, it's like hard to take seriously. No one wants to see families separated. I don't want to see families separated, but fix the law. Fix the law. He's not going to end catch and release. That's not happening.
No, that is not happening.
Well,
okay?
Jesse, back in December of last year, I don't know if you were planning your holidays, but I wasn't. But
The fuck does that even have to do with it? Donna Brazil, everybody.
what President Trump put in place back in December was a policy that, as you know, Attorney General Sessions announced just 6 weeks ago, was to prosecute everybody and then find out later if they're part of a gang, part of a cartel, part of trafficking.
Yeah, no shit. That's another fucking thing that people were making a big point of. They're prosecuting 100% of people that they catch illegally crossing the border. No shit. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. My math is kind of rusty. You're telling me that 100% of the people that they catch illegally crossing the border, they're prosecuting 100% of them for illegally crossing the border? Well, that's fucking mind-blowing.
What Senator Feinstein and others are saying will keep families together is that keep them together.
Hey, right? When I keep families together, we keep families together. Donna Brazil, everybody.
Now, as you
Well, there's laws that say you can't do that, Donna, and you know that.
Now here we go. Here's where we get into the important part.
Well, this is a policy change. This is a policy change.
The 97 law says you can't hold a minor for more than 20 days. And the 2008 deal, because of the smugglers, you can't house them in federal detention facilities together.
Now, I looked all over the place. And I couldn't find one video of anybody saying that Jesse Waters just fucking lied on TV. So, and these things, you know, they tickle in the back of my mind. I kind of remember this shit. So I don't fucking know. Do these laws exist? Because I'm thinking that maybe there is actually a law that says you can't hold children in a federal penitentiary. Or detention center, or whatever. That sounds like a law that would probably exist. Call me crazy. But if that law doesn't exist, I'm going to need to see something better than semantics.
This is a simple strategy. Keep the families intact, and then you go through the vet process.
Let me get Kimberly in on this.
Let's do it that way.
You know the law, and you know.
Yeah, and I think, there's really a concerted effort to distort really what's going on here for political purposes.
No shit.
I mean, at the heart of it, people do care about children. We care about families. But you have to understand how we arrived in this position, which is people breaking the law. And even if we put them on the bus back, who's to say that they're not with the sex trafficker and you return them back with that person? What we're at least trying to do here in a responsible way and in a careful way is identify who the child is, the minor, who is the adult accompanying the child, and make sure that in fact there is a match and that they are a relative and properly should be in that person's, I guess like custody, so to speak. And
No. That fucking makes sense to me. Right? That doesn't make sense to you? That doesn't seem like a good fucking thing to say we see an adult walking illegally across the border with a kid. Well, I don't know what to make of that. So, we're going to have to pick them up, because that's the law, and then we're going to have to figure out, is this even your fucking kid? That makes sense to me. And I don't know. It seems like a bad idea to me to say, well, I don't really know if this is your kid, but they were with you, so I guess we'll lock you in a room alone with them. What? Really?
Parental rights. This is very difficult. I have a hard time, though, accepting that it's okay to demonize ICE agents and Border Patrol and the president and the administration, all saying that they're mean-spirited and they want children abused.
Or they're Nazis.
Or Nazis and cages and all of these things. I mean...
Yeah, you begin to lose the argument when you go with that kind of shit. It gets fucking ridiculous, and it starts to get easy to fucking see through it.
This is a very tough problem. That's why immigration is important for them to address in a responsible way. But again, the laws must be upheld.
And I want everybody to notice, one of the things that they're saying a lot now is they're talking about the laws being upheld. And I think that's a step in the right direction.
And there must be some procedure by which they are identified properly so as to not make mistakes. Can you imagine the outrage if we went ahead and let somebody go with a sex offender and really encouraged, and we're acting essentially in concert, aiding and abetting sex trafficking? How irresponsible the United States. They don't care about children. They just let them go with anybody, and then the child, God forbid, ends up raped or tortured or murdered or something like that.
Dude, I can seriously see the fucking Vice headline. The story of how I was held in a room with the person who stole me from my parents so that I could be sold to a pedophile. Awesome.
That's zero tolerance on that. Let's go to Donald Trump. He had some comments today regarding this issue and the media bias regarding it.
Those who apply for asylum legally at ports of entry are not prosecuted. The fake news media back there doesn't talk about that. They are helping these smugglers and these traffickers like nobody would believe. That when countries abuse us by sending their people up, not their best, we're not going to give any more aid to those countries. Why the hell should we? Someday, they're going to vote for Democrats. Because they can't win on their policies, which are horrible. Their only policy was that Donald Trump is a bad guy, hundreds of millions of dollars of negative ads. Nobody's ever been hit like that. I used to go home, I started disliking myself. It's true.
And he goes out what? every fucking week to some state or another, and he gets to say that. He gets to pin they're encouraging child trafficking. And you can't really very well argue that that's not true. So, they're giving him his fucking ads for next fucking election. Man's a genius.
And it's hard to believe, Dana.
That's hard to do, almost
You
impossible.
probably never heard of John Kerry and how he was swift boat. So,
Yeah, that is
Oh my God, yeah, no carrying the swift boats. Thank you, Donna.
true. That is true.
But you know, when Bob Corker, Orrin Hatch, Lamar Alexander, John McCain, Susan Collins, Ben Sasse, I mean, I have a whole list
But
of
none of them have
Republicans.
solutions.
But they
Yeah,
are.
I think they do.
Yes,
I haven't heard
they
one.
do. They do.
You don't think that Ted Cruz
No, Ted
does?
Cruz, yes. But all the ones that are now
But
doing
they are supporting
outrage
his show.
signaling all over Twitter, who are, I won't mention the politicians' names, but they're all outrage signaling, and they're all so solemn about it, but they have the first part, they hate it, which we all do. The second part, what do you do about it? Silent.
Yeah, it is funny when that happens, isn't it?
But the actual members that she just listed, they're all supporting the Cruz bill.
Well, that's good.
Well,
That's a start.
Look,
Fuck it, at least somebody's supporting something.
first of all, I want to go back to what you said at the top of the show. American slavery and the Holocaust, they were absolutely evil events. And while people often use them to describe the pain or describe the degradation and dehumanization, these were absolutely evil events. What people are saying now is that they think that this compares to that.
And it's fucking absurd.
I try to tell people, don't do it.
Exactly.
Don't go there.
Yes.
But at the same time, we have to call this an outrageous act because these kids are being abused.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. And quite possibly being raped. So, I don't know, man. Like, don't you think it's kind of responsible to make sure that the person you find randomly crossing the border illegally with a kid actually belongs with that kid?
Being separated from their families.
Right.
You have children. You are
I
a
do.
father.
I do.
Where's your bracelet?
In most cases, Donna, if someone comes across with a minor, they're only separated for a day.
Doesn't
if you
matter.
apply for asylum, that's going to take longer than 20 days.
Yeah.
And the law says, based on the Clinton administration and upheld by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, you can't hold a minor longer than 20
But
days.
that's why Ted
And
Cruz
that's
says
what
14 days.
Right, and that's why he lowered it to 14.
Right.
And what the Obama administration got whacked for was they were sending these young kids to sponsors or uncles somewhere within the interior of the United States, and these kids were being abused, made to work slave wage jobs,
or they were sent back.
and
it was
malnourished.
rare. It was rare.
No,
that
but
they
it
were
was happening,
separated.
and that's why we're trying to take care of the kids.
I remember that period.
And that's
It just infinitely pisses me off. Whenever somebody starts to bring up, this happened, there was, molestation and slave work and this, that, and the other thing, and to have somebody sit there and go, that was rare, that was rare. Well, alright, how many times is too fucking much? If one is, who cares? What, okay, so 10, 100? Does it have to be a couple of thousand before it's no longer fine? When one life doesn't mean anything, how does any life mean anything?
the most important thing, taking care of the children.
We have to take care of the children.
But what's
We all agree on
I'm
that.
trying to figure out what is the solution that prevents the separation again? I'm just trying to figure this out because if 10,000 people, if 10,000 of these kids are unaccompanied, they're already separated.
Right.
So that leaves 2,000. So what are they doing now?
Right now, when someone crosses with a minor,
Yeah.
and there's no prior history of anything like that, and they're not claiming asylum,
Right.
they detain them
Yeah.
for a day, prosecute them, reunite them with the kid, and then send them back.
Right.
But if you apply for
You mean
asylum,
process. Process.
that's going to take them forever. Asylum cases
you're
take
charged with them
forever.
And then they
So, one day, unless they say, well, I'm here for asylum, and then that's a longer process, and you can't hold kids in a federal detention facility. So what do? And even at that, they can only hold them for 20 days. And then they have to get them the fuck out of there and get them somewhere. So, yeah. Auschwitz, this fucking ain't quite.
To speak on the phone to the parent.
The president needs to understand that this is a crisis that he can resolve tonight with a pen.
No. Because as Obama taught us yesterday, the president's job is to enforce the laws, not create them.
Everybody could actually resolve it. There's the Democrats and the Republicans.
No, the president. He has the pen.
He has the magic wand. And he just... If only.
Well, he's the first guy to actually try. And that's interesting.
What do you mean? The first guy to actually try? People have tried comprehensive immigration reform before.
Yeah,
which would have dealt with this particular issue.
I think this particular issue is directly related to a porous border, correct?
It's a strategy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a strategy to try to get a compromise, and this is a bad strategy.
Honestly, I think this is an amazing strategy. We'll get into that in 1 second.
Well, you can disagree with the strategy, but you cannot disagree with the fact that this guy is trying to tighten the border.
We all know that we have a problem.
Yeah.
Comprehensive immigration reform, we need it.
I agree.
I agree, too.
See, we can all agree here. Let's go for drinks.
You picked the place, Greg, because you're buying. But seriously, here's what I think ultimately is going on with Donald Trump. It's another one of those 5,486,346 fucking dimension chess things, right? Well, I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but I believe it was Abraham Lincoln that said, if you don't like a law, enforce it, right? We've got a lot of shit laws. Our immigration system is fucked. And for a long time, nobody's really been following the laws. Donald Trump said, we're going to start following the laws, right? So, laws are bad. Everybody starts saying, the laws are bad. Now, I'm sure it came out of left field that they were just going to throw everything on Donald Trump as a monster and he loves watching children suffer, as opposed to just going, laws are bad. Whatever, that's the direction they went with. Other people seem to be going with, laws are bad. We need to change the laws. And I think that's great, because Congress needs to change the fucking laws. But this is not the goddamn president's job. This is Congress, right? So, the laws have gotten to the point where it's so bad that there's pressure on the president to stop this. Now, I'm not entirely sure if you read the piece of paper that he signed. But it pretty much says that we're going to try and keep families together as much as the law allows. Right? Which in this particular instance is not fucking at all. So, they're going to either have to figure out a different way to hold the parents so that they're not in a facility that they can't hold minors in, or they're going to need to start putting minors in federal detention facilities. Right? One or the other has to happen. But you can't hold children in a fucking federal detention facility because of the law. And the law states we hold the parents in a federal detention facility. So the laws need to change. Unfortunately, the president cannot change the laws. He can only enforce them. So it's up to Congress to change the fucking laws. Now, the more they push this, the president has to do something thing. The president can just sit back and go, I don't make laws. Right? Push it back into Congress, which is going to sit there and stall and want to use this as a way to make the president look bad. But ultimately, this isn't going to make the president fucking look bad because the president runs right the fucking laws. So, either stupidity is ultimately going to win out and everybody's going to go, well, the president just needs to fix this. Or, Congress is going to have to do their fucking job. Right? I think it's genius. He has pushed them into a corner and said, I'm going to start enforcing the bad laws Because that's my job. Enforcing the laws you guys come up with. People aren't going to like it. And I ain't taking shit for it. I'm going to push it on you. Because you make the laws. Fucking genius. Man's a fucking genius. How do you get around it? He's a fucking genius. So, I think it's great. And yes, it's a strategy. And I think it might actually work. Who knows? Hopefully it does. And then maybe we can actually get some decent fucking laws in place. Wouldn't that be something? But if you think the new laws are going to be, well, everybody can just come and live here, you're fucking wrong. It ain't going to happen. Because that's ridiculous. Our country would have 5 billion people in it tomorrow if that became the new law. And we can't do that. You want to talk about tent cities? There'd be tent cities everywhere. You're out of your fucking minds if you think that's even possible. Whatever. So here we are. The president has painted Congress into a corner. He's saying, look, I'm going to enact the laws. I'm going to enforce the laws. Even the shitty ones. If you want them changed, do your fucking jobs. So there you go. Fucking genius.